Okay guys, this is the second part of 5.4a, and we're going to do problems 4 and 5 on the handout. So notice that even though it's a little bit hard to think of the side of a rectangle as being x minus 4, or rather as this piece being negative 4, this box method will still help us with the problem. So on this problem number 4, we started with the box already with the numbers on it. So you can see with the inner rectangles right here, we get this for our area when we add up the 4 rectangles. And what you have to be careful of is when you multiply numbers that have negatives, be sure that you're multiplying them as negatives so that the little rectangles that need to be negative show up that way. Okay? Then it asks, what are the factors? They are x minus 4 and x plus 7. And they get, by multiplying the factors, I get the same trinomial as I got by looking at the area. Okay? So now let's look at number 5. So I did this one already, and I want to point out that we know from earlier that the trick here is that we need 2 numbers that multiply to this, negative 10, that also, add to this, right? The sum is negative 3x. So I've written that down here, okay? You always want to pay attention to this and think about it, because that is what's going to help you find your factors for your rectangle. And the other thing I did that can be really helpful, at least it's helpful to me, is that I like to list the factors of the number that I have to multiply to. And when your number you're multiplying to is a negative, then you have twice as many factors, right? Because you have negative 5 times 2 gives you negative 10, but also 5 times negative 2 gives you 10. Now, if you want to, you can try out the same problem using x plus 5 and x negative 2 and see what happens. See if you get the right answer. Since I also know that I'm going to add to negative 3, I'm going to look at these factors right here and see which pair of them have a sum of negative 3, because that tells me which group to use. So notice the negative 5, 2 is the one that has a sum of negative 3. So that is why I used negative 5 and 2 in my box method. Okay? So that means my 2 binomials are x minus 5 and x plus 2. And if I FOIL them, careful with the signs, remember negative 5 times 2, you got that negative 10 there. Gives me x squared minus 3x minus 10. Okay? And that is indeed the trinomial that we started with. So when you do the homework on this, I highly, highly recommend that you write the list of factors that you need. I mean, if there are not very many factors or the number is prime, then you don't have very many choices. But for example, if this were negative 12 instead of negative 10, we'd have lots of options. We'd have the factors 12 and 1, 3 and 4, 6 and 2, and one's negative and one's positive. So then you have double that number of factors. Okay? At this point, you should look and see what the written homework is for this section. Actually, I can tell you what it is. The regular homework, the advanced is on Schoology, as is in this one. But if you want the advanced, why don't you look on Schoology? It's page 314, numbers 9 through 15 odd, 23, 25, and 35. And you guys, when you do these, be sure that the polynomials are in descending order before you start trying to factor them. Okay? Great. Give it a try.